At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. And he turned around in the middle of the crowd and asked, "Who touched me?" Was it you? Was it you? Who was it? Somebody touched me. And the disciples turned to him, thinking once again that he'd gone a little bit mad, and said, "Jesus, there are hundreds of people round here. They all want to get close to you. What do you mean, who touched you? You're in the middle of a crowd." Somebody touched me. Somebody came close. Somebody in need. I want to speak to that person. The woman who had touched him admitted it, confessed. Embarrassed, as she must have been, because she wasn't someone who'd readily stand up in public and show herself to all the people. She had plenty of reason for that. She had an embarrassing illness which caused her bleeding from her womb. Embarrassing in those days because, even more than today, it was a religious taboo to be seen in public and for anyone to know that this was happening. Embarrassing today for many, but even worse then. Jesus just looked at her. "Your faith has healed you." And that wasn't all that was happening, remember? The disciples must also have been thinking, "Come on, Jesus. Jairus is an important man around here, and he's asked you to come and cure his daughter. Please, come on. All right, that woman's been cured. Now let's get on." You can think of the impatience of the disciples again. Jesus, wasting time. He's on a mission. Jairus has come to him. Jairus is an important person. Patience. As we read in that song of lamentation. Patience. It was worse when he got there, of course. Big commotion in the crowd. Jairus hadn't been there. And while Jairus was away, his daughter had died. Jesus who delayed. The traffic was too busy, the ambulance couldn't get through. The same situation could arise today, right? If only you'd been there a few minutes earlier. Yesterday a woman, was it the day before? It was yesterday. A woman was hit in her car by a truck from behind. And it pushed her off the freeway. After 10 minutes, she was rescued by another driver who got down to her. She was hanging from her seatbelt in the car. The woman was pregnant. She's still alive, as far as I know. But starved of oxygen for at least a few minutes. The truck driver didn't know what had happened, though the car had been under the front of his truck. He pushed it off. Well, we don't know how it might have happened, what he saw, what he didn't see. But we know how important it is to deal with an emergency quickly and with skill. We need those people who drive our ambulances around. And we need to get out of the way if we're driving a car or whatever on the road so they can get through. A number of times I've seen cars doing stupid things, swapping lanes to try and get out of the way, when the ambulance has already got its free course down the near side. We know the situation, and it was just the same as the disciples observed Jesus. They didn't have traffic problems, or did they? Yes, they did. They had a crowd around them. They were trying to get across the town. And there was this roadblock. This woman, she wanted healing too. And Jesus got there late. Well, Jesus knew what was happening. Of course, he knew that everything would be well. The disciples did. He went inside. He didn't want a commotion inside the house. Maybe they were thinking, well, he just wants to go pray with the body and maybe give some comfort to the parents, as you would, as a priest or a minister would do. Jesus knew better. He held her hand. And in Aramaic said, Talitha kum. Get up, little girl. Well, 12 years old, life ahead of her. She got up. Don't know how it was for the days before while she'd been sick. I don't know what their arrangements would be, what their nursing care would be like, whether they decided she was dying so she didn't really need to be fed, they didn't need to trouble her with food. But it seems she was in need of a good hearty meal, and Jesus said, come on, give her a meal, give her some food, let her get on with life. Now that she's well, she's alive, she is the same 12-year-old girl, your daughter. Rejoice, but let her live. Sometimes people have died, I'm sure, because the people around them have been so sorrowful, so full of tears. They've looked up from their sickbed and thought, I'm going. I'd rather be at peace on my own in death than living among this lot. I think it was a bit like that with the crowd. Such a commotion, wailing and everything before time. It probably wasn't in order either to start this wailing and weeping before the father came back. Surely he should have been there before the funeral started. Well, Jesus was there. He was there for the girl and he was there for the older woman. He was there for both of them. By his touch brought healing. Notice something about about these two instances, completely different in the technicalities of how Jesus did it. People often ask, when we're talking about Christian healing, now how should we do this? Do we lay hands on them? Do we find the part that's hurting and put our hands there? What do we do? We don't need to worry. God knows. Jesus is the one who's touching, and Jesus is the one who heals. I looked at Grace Angel just now because we had rather a wonderful experience last week. Well, I did. You may have noticed Sunday worship, I was a little bit slow and a bit bent. My back had been hurting. In fact, on the Thursday before, I'd been picking up a stool, just bent down, picked it up, and suddenly, if you've ever experienced this, suddenly there was intense pain. I knew exactly what had happened because it had happened before. And I was just about to do a story time with about 12 children. Because that's why I was getting the stools ready to sit on. I managed to sit on my stool among them. I managed to get through it. Fortunately, that was all I had on that Thursday morning. In the afternoon, I went to see my friend, someone I depend on sometimes. He's a Kung Fu master. He works out at Dawan. And it's great. You know, when your back is out, Western medicine says, give painkillers. He said that to my father when he was in terrible pain. They gave him painkillers, they put a corset around him, they put a brace around his neck, and all it did was to weaken his muscles, because he had extra support. So his muscles didn't need to do the work. He was lying flat on his back for 6 months off work. But he saw someone that the Western doctors don't like, an osteopath, like a chiropractor, or maybe a Kung Fu master. They don't believe in this. They think it's dangerous, could cause more damage, of course. Bad medicine can cause more damage. It often does. In the end, he got better. He was able to return to his work, which was back-breaking work, as any typist knows, because he was a printer, and he was typing with a very heavy machine, typing the daily newspaper every night. That had been his job for all his career. He got back to it, fortunately, and stayed until his retirement. So I've witnessed how Western medicine doesn't help. A chiropractor can manipulate. The Chinese medical practitioner may stick pins in you, acupuncture, to help to relieve the tension in the muscles. And it works. I've tried that too. It's quite fun really. Don't worry about the pins. And it doesn't hurt. And sometimes they put electricity through, which gives us the tingling feeling. Now, my Kung Fu master shortcuts a lot of this. Lie down, you lie down in front, puts a rope around here, and one around your ankle, and he pulls. And then pushes with his foot. And twists you a bit, and you feel. Then he does it the other side, and he twists and pulls, and it cracks, and you hear it. That's the best part, because then you know it's actually going back into place. If it doesn't, well. And after that, you sit down, and he puts his arm around you, around your chin, pulls, and it cracks again. And then the other side. It's really good. I've seen people screaming when he does it. My sister-in-law never went back. He's got an extra bit at the end of this one. He gives you a copper bar which you hold. Then he connects himself up to the electricity, and the bar is connected to the other pole, and he touches you. And the electricity goes through him and through you, and your face goes into contortion, and he touches your shoulder, and it pulls. When he's holding you here, you get kind of zebra stripes going around. Remember it? Mayling's been there. Once. And after that, that's it. I came away thinking, maybe it's worked this time. I'm in the car, changing get back. Oh. Thursday night was still a painful night. Friday morning, managed to do my story time, took classes. Actually, I had some classes on Thursday evening too, after this treatment. Sunday was still a little bit painful, but I was sitting at home. Several members of the congregation were with me. As Angel said, we just pray. She's wonderful. Only she doesn't know the Kung Fu master strokes, so I felt safe. And so Angel gathered everyone around, and Angel prayed, touching my back. Thank you. I feel fine today. In fact, I was thinking of going back on Thursday last week, just for another go. Just to make sure and clicked it all in the right place. Give it another pull. But I decided no, I didn't need it. Prayer? Yes. Kung Fu? If it works, try it. We all practice that, don't we? If it works, we try it. Do you know a good doctor who deals with this part of the body or that part? Okay, I'll go to that one. We do it. Because someone else says it's good. It works. Right. The woman that came to Jesus would probably have found there was some medicine today. There were other ways of helping her. And she should have tried it. Just then, was anything like the kind of medical facilities that we have now. But that's not the point. The point is, Jesus too loved her and had compassion to be able to see her cure completed. Whether we go to a Western doctor, Chinese doctor, chiropractors, whoever, if it works, it's good. I'm sometimes somewhat cynical, I'm afraid, about Western medicine. All those things that we put into our mouths or we have injected into us, they work. But most of them have side effects. Most of them, in their turn, are poisonous. And partly why they work, because they're powerful chemicals. But every doctor knows they've got to be used extremely carefully. You see old people, and I've visited so many old people in England when I was a minister. They've got a handful of pills. This pill is for my heart. This one is to overcome the side effects that the first pill gives. And the next one is to help me because there are side effects from the second one. And of course, if I'm taking so many pills, that's going to upset my stomach. So I need another one to deal with that. And there's about 10 pills there. This poor old person is losing her memory. What does she do? It's part of the tragedy. Medicine often isn't compassionate, though it's often the best that we can do with our knowledge and our abilities. And nobody should ever say, forget the doctors, don't go, just believe. Because there are effective cures for so many things today. When my father was young, there were no antibiotics. They had not been discovered. It's not that. When his brother was 21, he went to the dentist. I don't know what it was for, whether it was for filling or something, but his tooth hurt. He died. Because he got an infection through whatever surgery was done. Because it was minor surgery. So I never knew the uncle, but I could have. Today we think nothing of going to the dentist. We know that if we get a problem like that, there are antibiotics to cure it. Though they're saying there are some bugs about now that resist all the medicines that we've got. And they're frightened of them. In hospitals, certainly in Britain, people don't like to go to hospital because there are bugs that get round hospitals that kill because the antibiotics just don't work anymore. Now we need to pray for the whole of this situation. We need to pray for the scientists who are still working to regain the ground, to be able to overtake all the things that have turned in on us, to overcome the dangers that present themselves in new ways in today's world. We need to pray for them. We need to pray for those doctors in their skills and in their considerable understanding of the human body and the way that they can give cures. That's all part of it. Jesus never said there's only one way to be cured. And if you look at the different cures that he performed, the different healings, they were all in different ways. He even, on an occasion that we know about, he used a kind of medicine. The man couldn't see. So Jesus spat on the ground and with his saliva mixed up some mud, a mud pack, and put it in the man's eyes. But dream of doing that today. Grit in your eye just to add to the problems, the health problems and the discomfort. Jesus knew what he was doing, and the man got his sight back. What happened? Did the mud scrape away at some kind of cataract in front of the man's eyes? I don't know. But today, thousands and thousands of operations are performed every day on people's eyes to remove a skin that forms in old age, called a cataract. And those who go through it, for them it's a miracle. One day, they could just about see shadows. A few days later, the bandages are removed and they can see. So effective, so simple. A doctor used to come to the hospital near us in Bangladesh every year and spend 3 days doing all the cataract operations for the whole area. Hundreds of people would come and receive their sight back. It was amazing. The joy there must have been for them and for their families. Jesus used medicine. Jesus used touch. Jesus, on this occasion, didn't use anything. The woman came, she touched him. I don't think there was anything special about what he was wearing. She touched him, her faith restored her to full health. Moment to say to Angel last week, doesn't matter what I touch. It's okay. Touch on my back, good. That's here. Head. But don't press too hard on someone whose back hurts. I even had to give that warning sometimes because I used to do a lot of work in healing services. I was even the healing consultant, would you believe, for the province, for our church in England, and enjoyed organising conferences where people came to give their testimony about their healing. And locally, in the district, we talked about it with other churches represented there. So often you go to a healing service, people are very keen to do their best. So there's a person who's kneeling in front of them. Often we've made them kneel. Give them a cushion for their knees. And then people would lay their hands. Sometimes the pressure would be so much you could see that person collapsing under the strain. So please, don't make it worse. And sometimes we'd say, look, if you're just that far away, the vibes will get through. That worked as well. If someone is in need, James says they should call on the elders of the church, and the elders will come and lay hands on that person, on the sick person, to make him better. It's echoing a verse at the end in chapter 16 of Mark's Gospel. They will lay their hands on the sick, who will be healed. This is a promise that Jesus made to his disciples and to all who would follow after in his faith. It's a promise. And it's a promise that stands today as well. Don't worry how it happens, how it's done. If there is someone helping us today who feels they need that touch, share it. Maybe when we're talking about prayers of intercession, and we can share. Simple prayer for healing. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, dramatic. We don't have to call down fire from heaven. It might be a bit painful sometimes. Even the electric shock treatment isn't necessary. Jesus said, wherever 2 or 3 people gather and agree on something in my name and pray for it, it will be done. It's not a solitary activity. It's not something that one person should do. Let's say, I'm a healer, I can go around and heal everybody. And that causes problems sometimes, and divisions in churches. It's something that the church, as a fellowship, should be responsible for. Angel was great. She didn't say, I can do this, I can lay hands on you and make you better. But we should pray. It's something we do as a community. Something that we can share, and it brings good every time. That's a point to ponder. And I'll insist, every time. It might not be the result that you wanted, but it's the result that God was planning. It might not be the person who said they wanted healing who gets healed. One of my friends tells a story when he was actually my predecessor in this job of healing person for the province. He said there was a group of women that prayed for someone. They didn't know how to do it, so they'd asked him, can you tell us what to do? He said, just get on with it, just pray. Just pray for that person. Ask for God to heal. So they did. And afterwards a woman came, one of those who laid hands on this person, came back to him and said, I'm not sure if this is right, but can you tell me if I'm right? He said, I think God missed. Because I got healed. Is that okay? It's okay. And of course it happens. And why shouldn't it? If we share in that ministry, because the Spirit is with us. The Spirit that brings healing and works through us and in us. And if we're too shy to say, I'm the one who needs healing, well, God knows anyway. It's connecting with God and with God's healing power. If the woman had asked, what should I do? They'd have said to her, just go and see the priest. And if you're feeling better, the priest will tell you if it's okay. She didn't. It's too embarrassing. She wanted it to be a very private thing. In the middle of the crowd where nobody would notice. She just touched his coat. Just as he was passing what Jesus did. The power is God's power, and it's more than we know. Thanks be to God. We can always call on Jesus. The touch that we feel when the people of Jesus are touching is his hand. It's his hand that touches us. Sometimes we feel a certain warmth. That's an experience many people have shared. Warmth in the hands that touch, and not just body heat. It's more like the electricity actually. A warmth at the top of the head, even if it's not quite touching. But you don't have to worry about that technicality. It doesn't matter. Jesus knows, and Jesus heals. Thanks be to God.